What's going on, guys? Ahmed here, back with another video. Here today to give y'all another quick discussion, something that was on my head and I wanted to talk about. This, of course, is the beginning of a new decade with a lot of new budding artists and talents coming out of the woodwork in hip-hop and really dropping quality music and beginning to establish themselves as intense players in music in general. So it's a really great time. And one thing that comes up a lot in these beginning of a new decade conversations, especially once the quality artists are beginning to take shape, is spiritual successors. And it's something that I've actually been pretty interested in recently, given how many examples you can see. So yeah, overall, I definitely feel like spiritual successors is a really interesting topic. One of the strongest pieces of evidence in favor of this idea of spiritual successors is New York rap collectives. Now, when I say rap collectives, I don't mean the Migos or Tribe Called Quest or The Roots, right? To me, those are rap groups, people who rap, who come together to make albums and all three or four are on the same song at the same time. When I say rap collectives, I'm talking about crews of rappers with a unifying sound or vision or brand, whether that be Odd Future, whether that be Wu-Tang Clan, whether that be Griselda, so on, or ASAP, so on and so forth. And one thing I've noticed is that pretty much through every decade, from the 90s until now, there has been a strong rap group. And I just find that to be really, really interesting. Starting with the 90s, of course, you had the Wu-Tang Clan, who dropped 36 Chambers, one of the greatest albums of all time, and then would go on to have fruitful solo careers on their own. In the 2000s, you had G-Unit running the game for the longest, killing it. Of course, you got Get Rich or Die Trying. You got the multiple G-Unit records that exist, and I even covered Lloyd Banks' resurgence recently, man. Of course, in the 2010s, you had the ASAP Mob, you know what I'm saying, with their experimental style and very out there production. They were definitely refreshing to hear. And now you have an interesting battle between Highbridge, A Boogie with the Hoodie and his collective, as well as Griselda with Westside Gunn, Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher, etc., etc., etc. And so it kind of got me thinking about the future of these rap groups and what place they can hold in the catalogs of history as we move forward through this decade. So the first thing I want to talk about is just quickly kind of go over, compare and contrast them. I think that right now, when it comes to the generation of Griselda that's really got a stranglehold on quality music and new stuff right now, I think that's Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher, and Stove God Cooks. Of course, Westside Gunn has been doing his thing for a while, but I consider him much more of a 2010s rapper than I do a 2020s rapper. And for Highbridge, you have the main three that I am aware of, that being A Boogie with the Hoodie, Don Q, and Trap Manny. And it's interesting because if you just look at these three artists for each group, they actually have a lot of similarities. While they make, of course, completely different styles of music, have completely different goals, and completely different production styles, in terms of where they rank and the space they occupy in their group, it's actually very similar. Whether you have the overall well-rounded and introspective artist who generally is the most creative and most lyrically expansive artist, and the most lyrically expansive artist. For Griselda, this happens to be Conway the Machine. And of course, for Highbridge, this happens to be A Boogie with the Hoodie. Then we go down and you have somebody who maybe isn't as experimental or has as much variation, but on a technical level, they're far stronger than the prior category, right? With far more intricate rhyme schemes, far more intricate flows. And that would, of course, be Don Q and Highbridge and Benny the Butcher in Griselda. And then up next, you have sort of the wild card with a lot of potential and a very, very unique sound. But at this moment in time, is still developing and perfecting the way that they go about making quality music. And ironically, both of these people have one studio album out now, that being Trap Manny and Stove God Cooks. And I'm not trying to shoot, I'm not trying to make any shots or anything like that. This is just my own personal observation. And so, yeah, even now you see, right, there's a lot of similarities between the two groups. So now let's talk about who I feel has more potential. So with this, I think this is a bit of a basic way of looking at it, to be honest. I think that there's two different ways to look at potential, right? And especially with the underground rap scene so clearly defined at this point, with rap being as mainstream as it is, you can very much see the gap in mainstream success and widespread appreciation for certain acts. With that being said, who will go down as the most known group from the 2020s? I definitely feel like Highbridge is building up that catalog. And I feel like they're more likely to blow up and get a larger degree of success, whether it be a Boogie, who was already sort of at the peak of his power, selling a decent amount of records per unit, or Don Q, who, while he may not be the biggest artist right now, I do feel like makes very accessible music with a lot of great choruses that can definitely, I believe, be played in more settings. And Trap Manny, who, like I said, is a real wild card, but even he brings a lot of interesting melodies. And I think at some point when he's further along in his career, we will definitely see people gravitate towards his very unique sound. So like I said, from a mainstream perspective, I definitely believe that Highbridge at the current moment has got a better on paper chance of having that worldwide impact. On the flip side, if you want to talk to me about album impact, if you want to talk about who has the ability to drop an album that is on the level of 36 Chambers, and I'm not saying impact or anything like that, I'm just saying like quality of raps, quality of beats, I think it's Griselda, man. I think that given their level of consistency so far, there is nothing in my mind that stops them, if they really come together, from dropping a compilation classic for this generation. I don't feel like anything is stopping them, especially if they recruit all of their talent, man. They could really have something insane on their hands. And yes, I know they've already kind of done it. Editor's note. So I got a chance to really listen to the Griselda album that already came out. And while I think it's good, I think that when they have the opportunity to carry songs by themselves on an album, and especially once Stove God is added to the mix, I definitely feel like they can come out with a more dynamic project with more song ideas. But I think what I'm interested to hear is, now that they're far more developed as rappers, right? Conway is far more introspective, far more diverse in his subject matter. I think Benny the Butcher is continuing to just become more technical and more pristine with his bars and his wordplay. And you have Stove God in the mix now, who's officially dropped a project of his own, really getting used to grappling onto multiple song ideas and carrying out full songs nowadays by himself. And so I think that given their progression in the recent years as artists, what they could come out with now has some serious potential to do a lot of damage in terms of just quality albums to come out of this decade of music, man. So yeah, that was pretty much what I wanted to talk about. I am really looking forward to what both of these groups bring. I think that those two are the best groups in New York right now. And let me know in the comments who y'all think is better. I'm sort of split. I feel like it's kind of hard to compare them because, like I said, they make such different music. But I think solid arguments could be made for both High Branch and Griselda. So yeah. With that being said, y'all, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 50 subscribers before the end of the year. And peace, y'all.